Hello, beautiful lady. Welcome back to Higher Self and I. We are diving straight in to a bit of money subconscious work today, and purely because it has been a topic of conversation within a couple of my one-to-one containers at the moment. And you know that I pretty much always bring what's currently going on with my current clients into the podcast because I know that it's going to be more than just them that's going through it. And there has been this through line that I've really seen where a lot of my clients have beliefs and stories and patterns around money that's truly stopping them from getting to the next level. And we want to keep progressing. I know there's a lot of high achievers out there in my audience. Hello, welcome. And we want to keep succeeding. We've got this tenacity, we've got this drive, we've got this ambition of actually having a life bigger than you've probably ever experienced in your own, whether that was growing up watching your parents, whether it was watching people around you, and maybe some of you out there want to be that first millionaire in your family. You want to really kind of break this generational that you've seen, train or chain, I don't care, generational chain that you've seen throughout your family system, throughout your family network, maybe who you've grown up around, where you now have a business, you now have the real focus and impetus to be able to do that. And I think in the world that we're in the online space, it is so exciting and there is so much scope for you to truly step into the wealth you desire. So I want to have a look. Are you subconsciously ready for your next level of wealth? And this is what today's episode is going to be about. So when I have clients come to me to work with me, some of the beliefs that I see are: I don't treat my money responsibly, so I'm not earning more. I'm scared of who I'll be if I make those high cash months. I'm going to have it and it's not going to be stable and secure. Like, when am I going to grow up with this? Like, when am I going to learn how to deal with my money? When am I going to stop throwing it under the rug or throwing it away the moment that I get it? And a lot of the time it is due to our patterns and our behaviors that we have picked up from the people that we grew up around, because we know that our biggest imprints come in from the ages of 0 to 7 at a push 14. And then if you have gone through a particular emotional traumatic time during or after that. But a lot of the time, especially when it comes to your own money story, it has come literally through modeling. And I have had clients who have worked with me who do not bat an eyelid about how much money they can make. Because in the way that they were brought up and the family unit that they had, money was not a suffer. Money was not an issue. Money was this unlimited thing that they could tap into. But if you've kind of been brought up in the opposite side to that, where money was an issue, or money was really talked about, or money was a battle maybe between arguments that you heard between your mom and your dad, or maybe there was something significant. You all know, and I've spoke about my money story on this podcast a lot, from my dad having an accident when I was in year 6. So it actually really depends how you've grown up, what you were modeled, and what you were shown. And this isn't a blame. This isn't a, you never taught me how to look after my money, or you never taught me how to care for my money or what to do with it. It's actually, wow, let me get curious at what story I have taken on from the perspective that I saw, the perception that I had when I was younger, and what am I willing to do about it? Because this is where we really start to shift. And it starts subconsciously, 100%. But actually, we are in a world now where you can learn to be more financially savvy even from watching frickin' TikTok. Like, there are a lot of resources out there nowadays on what to do with and how to handle and how to have and where to invest more money. So you can't keep using that as an excuse, unfortunately. And a lot of the time, the excuse of you not looking after your money better or not being responsible or not feeling that you can handle it comes down to the lack of knowledge. But actually, it is so subconsciously ingrained that your subconscious, very, very, very sneakily, will not allow you to learn the knowledge. Because if I put a gun to your head and I said, go and learn what to do with your money, where to invest it, what to do, you would go and bloody do it, right? So I wanted to have a look, not so much on the logisticals of what to do with your money and how to handle your next level of wealth, but actually where it's going to start from. From your subconscious, baby girl, because you know that is where everything starts. It's where we go back to. It's where we really need to focus in order for you to step into that next level. Now, I see countless ambitious, amazing entrepreneurs who have this huge vision of where they want to take their business. Like I said, they want to be maybe the first millionaires in their family. They want to build a team. They want to build an empire. And I know a lot of people listening to the podcast, you do too. But right now, the behaviors is head in the sand when it comes to the money that you already do have, probably terrified of tax time. I have a lot of clients that we have to work through the VAT threshold and how they almost keep themselves playing underneath that because they're too petrified or too scared of what that would be if they stepped past the VAT threshold. Investing? Nah. Never even heard of it, not even checking your bank account. The money just either sits there or you spend it, you get rid of it. And the pattern that I had when I first started really scaling the business, and this was in Australia, which was a little bit weird for me because and this is kind of where I really started to see that money is literally energy and the numbers in your account is literally what you make it. Because in Australia, money felt like bloody Monopoly to me. Like nothing made sense because in Australia, everything is double. So the dollar in Australia is pretty much double the pound. So I would get a coffee and it would be $11, which here it would be £4 or £5. And it just made no logical sense to me. And actually, I found it easier to do money work in Australia. And then when I came back to England, I had to do a little bit of shifting and understanding when I got back here. But actually, it was kind of the impetus that I was putting on the pound sign that was making me have these money struggles. And that was kind of the money struggles that I had before I left Australia. And then I started really working on my money story when I started to scale the business. I was obviously making a lot more than I'd ever held before, than I'd ever known before, that had ever sat in my bank account before. So I had to allow my subconscious mind not only to get used to that, but to feel safe within that. And really, what we want to do is we want to create safety around that next level wealth and where you're going to go with it. Now, I've done a lot of podcasts about this. I'll tag a couple into the show notes if you want to go back. I did like a full money series back in January of 2022 or 2023. I'm not sure. I think it was 2023. And really, it's about teaching your subconscious on how you're going to handle it. Yes, that's the moving forward section. But what I want to actually look at today is the story that you've created around said money, the stories that your subconscious, your parts have created around holding or having or making money, whether it's £10 or whether it's 10,000 or 10 million, whatever it is. We want to have a look at the stories behind that, because a lot of the time where we have these stories where it's like, I can't hold on to money. I have a lot of clients who are like, I hit incredible milestones in my business And I've even had like a couple of really high cash months, but every time I've kind of made it with all this money, I feel fear, I feel shame, because that money is no longer anywhere to be seen. You kind of, it feels so unsafe for you to hold it, you throw it back out, which in turn, if it's coming from the right place and you've invested it somewhere, you've invested it back in the business, I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for that. But if you're kind of getting rid of it because it feels so unsafe to hold, no wonder we're not going into that next level, because we're not currently looking after the money that you have right now. And not only not looking after it, not being like grateful for it, not being in the moment with it, not going, oh my God, this life and this amount of money that I have now is literally the dream life that my past self had a couple of years ago. And the like, I can't hold it, I feel irresponsible, I'm scared of making more again. That you hold on so tight to those beliefs that you try and increase your income, but it's not working. And that is because your subconscious is blocking you from making more money because you're scared you won't be able to hold it. Money doesn't feel safe. So we want to create safety around the money you already have. We really want to create that safety around what's already there and what's going on right now. And I think really having a look at that for you today is going to allow your subconscious mind, because this is what you want to teach it from, in with a new neural pathway, is, well, I can handle, I am responsible, I can hold this amount of money, so therefore I can hold more, rather than, oh my God, I can't even look after this amount. What the fuck am I going to do if £1 million dropped into my account next week? And there are so many articles, and I know I've said this before, about lottery winners not being able to keep their earnings, to keep their winnings, not earnings, keep their winnings, because they don't know how to handle it. A lot of them go bankrupt. Of course they do, because they've never experienced that amount of money. Their subconscious is like, oh my God. And then we spend it all, and then they're back to where their actual subconscious lives within their money story. So I've got a couple of questions that I want us to work through to start off with. That's really going to allow us to tap into your money story at the moment. And it might feel confronting, and I feel, especially when I was doing this, money felt one of the most uncomfortable subconscious things for me to look at, because it was such a huge story that I held about myself. So I get it. I am with you. I am holding you. And I just want you to know that, yes, it really feels uncomfortable, and it feels uncomfortable to look at it, but you are so not alone. You're not alone. And there's so many people who have debt, who have done silly things with their money, who have invested in the wrong thing. Like, there's so many people going through this, and because it's such a taboo subject outside of this industry, and I know in this industry it's not a taboo subject because it's the fucking forefront of every piece of marketing you see online is the amount of money that someone's making, but because not a lot of people talk about it, we then, as a society, create shame around what we've been through or what we've experienced with money, when actually there's a lot of people going through it. So I want you to be really neutral with these questions, and I want you to be really understanding of yourself. And actually, I want you to almost become an observer, which is really tapping into self, which is the parts work that I do inside my one-to-one containers. And actually, we're doing parts work in the membership at the moment. You want to really step into self with this. You want to become the observer. You want to become curious. You want to become confident around this. And so I don't want you to bring in shame, because shame tells lies. Shame keeps us still. Shame doesn't move us forwards or backwards. Shame is a projected story on what you've been through. And at the time, you were literally doing the best you could with the resources that you had, with the mindset that you had, with the understanding that you had at that time. And living in the past never moves us forwards. So let's change it. So the first thing I want you to journal on today is, what does your relationship with money currently look like? So if you were in a relationship with money, what would that look like? How are you treating it? How is it treating you? And really have a look at what that looks like for you. Now, I was hugely avoidant with money, purely because it felt like if I just didn't look at it, I could make it non-existent in my head. I could put it in a box, in a littler box, in an even littler box than that, shove it in the mind, and forget about it. Whereas actually, the relationship that I wanted with money was very open, was very curious, was very honest, was very, okay, this is going on. This is the plan to get through this. So I want you to have a look at, what does your relationship with money currently look like? And you can look at it from like this perspective of like literally being in a relationship with it. If money was your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and it was like a physical thing in your life, how would you be behaving towards it? What would the conversations be? Would there be conversations? Would you keep shutting the door on it? Would you have dinner with it? Probably not. So really having a look at what that relationship currently looks like. The next thing I want you to do is have a look at the most common feelings and emotions that you have associated with money. And this is where we start to link to your next level. Because if we have a look at your common feelings and emotions that you're experiencing with money right now, imagine 10 timesing the amount of money that you have, and your subconscious is like, wow, those emotions are only going to go stronger and stronger, because your subconscious doesn't care about your happiness or your joy. Your subconscious is keeping you safe. So if the amount of money that you have right now is giving you certain thoughts and feelings, if you have more than that, by God, what would that look like? Now, logically, you're like, that's fucking brilliant. Give me more, bitches. But from a subconscious level, it's not in the 3D world, so it doesn't know that, right? So what is the most common feelings and emotions you experience with money? Now, when you know this, I want you to start to actually have a look at where that is coming from. So I want you to start to get curious of why those feelings are there and why those emotions are there. And what I actually want you to do to start kind of moving through this is, I want you to start feeling them. Because the only way that we move through really heightened emotions is actually allowing ourselves to feel it. Rather than shoving it in a box, rather than pushing it down, what I actually do with my clients when we're doing timeline therapy, which is an NLP technique that I use, one of my favorites, I get them to feel the motherfucking feeling. And I hold them in that because I know what happens. The more you allow the feeling to be felt, the quicker it subsides. So you don't hold on to this feeling somatically in your body. You don't hold on to it as long or as strong, and you can move through it. So if you're doing this exercise from listening to this podcast and you find out the most common feeling or emotion you're experiencing, sit with it. Sit with it. Look, I know, I get it. It's uncomfortable. But if you can sit with the feeling and you go, okay, sadness, okay, shame, okay, worry, okay, guilt, okay, fear, whatever it is that's come up for you, I'm going to feel you right now. Feel it where it is in your body. Feel where it's happening, where the sensations are, and just allow it to be there. It's safe for me to feel this. I'm going to allow it to pass through. Because what's actually happening is, one of those feelings that's probably coming up is what we call an exile. in parts work that I do within inside my containers. I've spoke about parts work a little bit before on the podcast, but with parts work, we have firefighters and we have managers, and what they try to do is they try to stop you from feeling the exiles, and the exiles is exactly what I've just said, is the really uncomfortable feelings. But if we can actually start to embrace and allow those feelings to be felt, your managers and firefighters won't have to battle to stop you from feeling them, because it starts to become safe for you to go into it. So without having to move through anything, I literally want you to start feeling the feelings a little bit more, because the more you feel them, the more you allow them in. Yes, it's uncomfortable at the time, and if you want help with this, this is where I come in, both in the membership and in my one-to-one container. When you start to feel the feelings, they actually pass through way quicker. And the next time you feel them, they will decrease and decrease and decrease and decrease until you've actually allowed yourself to feel the feelings. Next question is, what is the hardest part about your relationship with money? So what is the hardest part about your relationship with money? Start to get curious again. And then the last thing, what do you think money thinks of you? If we gave money a microphone and we said, what do you think of our Beck? What would it reply? Because money is energy, and energy is a two-way thing, baby. Energy is passing. Just like I said about my Australia journey, the numbers were different. The energy was different behind the numbers. So it's never the numbers, it's what you're making the numbers mean. It's the story that you're putting on the number. It's the story that you're putting on the 10K of that's going to help you be the thing that's going to make you feel successful. It's the story of you putting on the multi six figures, 200K, 900K, whatever that is for you. It's a story that you're creating around it that is making the energy feel blocked within you. So have a little go. Right, this is going to really open you up to an understanding. And this is where I am going to elevate you on this podcast to start doing something about it, because I'm not going to tell you what to do next, actually. I'm just uncovering what's currently going on from a monetary perspective, subconsciously, with your wealth. Because if you answer these questions and you're curious enough and you can lead from being the observer, you will know what to do next. You will know. Because you've pushed it away that many times, and you've told yourself that many times that you're going to get an accountant, or you're going to start doing this, or you're going to start doing that, or you want to have a look into this. And actually now it's time to go, okay, I'm going to become the observer of my wealth story because I do want to be a millionaire, because I do want this house, because I do see my life being like this. And start to see what you want it to look like instead. That's where the actionable steps come in. That's where we take this conceptual, subconscious space and we go, right, what can I do with that now? This is why the work that I do with my clients is so freaking powerful, because for me, the subconscious comes first, and then we look at the action. And the action, I'm going to leave on you. Because it's time. It's time that you stepped into this. It's time that you went and learnt the knowledge. It's time that you went and had a better relationship with money. It's time that you looked after your money now. So what needs to be done from the answers that you have? Now, if you've got some real stories coming up around this, you know where I am. We've got a money mindset course inside the membership, so sign up to that. I definitely do it inside my one-to-one container, so come and have, put your application in for that. Where do you need that support? But you will only know that when you start to really have a look at this. So I hope this podcast has opened your little pound or dollar sign eyes because I really want this for you, and I know how it feels because I grew up with so many money stories. It was Probably the biggest amount of work that I've done to create the business that I've created and will carry on creating has been around money and how I see it, how I see myself with it, how I see my parents with it, etc. And it really does subconsciously hold people back because you're not currently looking after what you've already got. So go forth and have your little money exploration, get curious, be the observer, and you will start to see externally what happens when you allow yourself to feel safe with the money that you have right now. I will see you on the next episode. I love you lots.